What's up, y'all? It's your girl Nicole. Thank you for connecting to Divine Star Energy. And before we get started, I have a little disclaimer. So today I chose to not put on makeup purposely because I have a Virgo moon, and I realized that I try so hard to achieve perfection in everything that I do, and sometimes that stifles me from getting anything done. So with that being said, I didn't do my makeup because sometimes I go back and edit my videos and then I'll see like the way the lighting makes my makeup look, or just any little bitty minor detail, and I'm just so overly focused on that I just delete all the content and I don't even get anything done because I'm just being overly critical of myself. So in order to prevent that, I said, fuck it, I'm gonna just do a video with no makeup on at all, so then I don't have to worry about if my makeup look fucked up because I'm not wearing any. So that's that. And this is not a beauty tutorial, so I don't have to look good to tell you what I need to tell you. Moving on. So this video is about moon through the houses, and then I'm going to do a part 2 with moon through the zodiac signs. So for this video, all you need to know is the house number that your moon sign falls in, and it'll be numbered 1 through 12 in the astrological birth chart wheel. So if your moon falls in the first house, you're likely the type of person who you're very expressive about your feelings, because the first house represents like your looks. So you're the type of person who people can tell how you feel based on your facial expression. You're the type of person that you can't really hide how you're feeling. You wear your emotions on your face, where if you're sad about something, you know, your face, you might appear to be like frowning or sad, or you know, your body posture might just be like a little hungover, or you know, low, you're not holding your head up high or something like that. You also might be the type of person who you get offended easily. You could be the type of person who wears their emotions on their sleeves. When you're upset about something, people know you're upset. When you're happy about something, you're smiling. When you feel down, people can look at your eyes and, you know, you might have like a little watered eyes, or you might appear to be just feeling sad in some type of way, because you could really wear your emotions on your sleeve with this placement. You're the type of person who you're upfront about your feelings. Like, you're not gonna sugarcoat anything. If you meet somebody and you don't like them, they're gonna know that you don't like them. If somebody meets you and they don't like you, you're gonna let them know that you don't care. If you're in a situation where everybody else is pretending, you know, and changing their personality up because they're around certain people, you're going to be that one person who stays who you are. You're going to be like, no, I feel this way because of this, and I stand on what I say and how I feel, regardless of what you think or feel about it. So you're going to be the type of person who you're very expressive of how you feel. And hopefully there's not like Mars in the first with this moon, because if Mars is in the first with the moon, or if it's Aries in the first with the moon, you're going to be very impulsive with your emotions. You're going to snap, and you might hurt somebody because, you know, let's just keep it real. Aries is the warrior. It is the fighter. So hands on deck. What they say, at first sight, on sight. Aries on sight. Aries moon on sight. Aries in the first house, moon in the first house, on sight. So you can tend to be very impulsive with your emotions with your moon here in this first house, because this is a fire house. Fire is fast moving. Fire takes over and consumes things, consumes whatever it touches. So you're going to need to find a balance in your emotion, because if you have too much fire, like I said, if this moon in the first house is in the sign of Aries, And it's also with Mars energy there as well. You're going to be the type of person that, to the extreme, you're ready to snap. Like, nobody can tell you nothing. Nobody can calm you down. You don't want to hear it. You just want to get physical. You want to fight. You're not careless with the things that you get. You're not careless with money. You're not the type of person that you want to spend your money on just something crazy. Like, it has to have value. It has to hold value over time for you. Like, you might spend a lot of money on expensive things, but it has to be something that is gonna bring back some type of return to you. It's gonna bring back or hold value. Like, if maybe you spend $1,000 on some shoes, but you have those shoes for 7 years, and you know, a nice purse that's gonna last you for years. Not saying you're gonna keep reusing the same one, but you're gonna keep it because it holds value. And also with this placement, you might be a collector of things. You might be a collector of handbags. You might collect some type of cards. You might collect some type of antique things. Like, you have a connection to having things. So you might also have trouble with letting go of things that you need to let go of. And the second house ruler is Venus. So you could have trouble with Moon in the second house letting go of relationships too. Things that you value. You might have trouble saying goodbye to partners that don't serve you, partners that are not into you or don't value you or don't appreciate and love you as much as you appreciate and value and love them. You might stay in stagnant situations because of this feeling of comfort, and you love feeling comfortable with Moon in the second house. If your Moon is in the third house, hey, my Moon is in the third house too. Moon in the third house. Third house is Gemini energy. Gemini, you know, is the twins. It's this playful, childish kind of energy. It's this scatteredness and moving around a lot. It's this restlessness. It's ruled by Mercury. So it's an intellectual house here that you have your Moon in. So you're very emotionally intelligent with your Moon being in this third house of intelligence, because it's ruled by the sign of Mercury. Moon in the third house, you're gonna be restless as fuck. Your emotions are gonna be all over the damn place, first of all, because you know the twins is two sides. People be calling Gemini folks bipolar or crazy or whatever the case may be, but Moon in the third house, you experience those different ranges of emotions. One minute you might be happy, the next minute your ass sad. You don't know what the fuck you sad for, but it just happens. The shit just came upon you. It just came over you. And then the next minute you might be okay again, and you don't know why the hell you felt sad in the first place, especially if you're like a lot of mutable, if you have a mutable Moon or you have a lot of mutable energy in your chart. Moon in the third house, you're likely to be the type of person who thinks about how you want to feel before you actually feel that shit. I know personally, because my Moon is in the third house in Virgo, so I definitely intellectualize my emotions. So with Moon in the third house, you could have a tendency to intellectualize your emotions, to always have to make sense of your feelings and your emotions. Like, you don't really know what to do with it. You got to make it make sense. You got to make it make sense. Like, how do I want to react to whatever just happened? So you might tend to have a delayed reaction in situations where you don't respond right away. You have to process this. This is a processing house. The third house is a processing house. So you have to process your emotions before you allow yourself to feel however you feel. And this process might happen a little quicker if you're like a Pisces Moon or a Cancer Moon, because those are very emotional signs. And but that's a whole nother story. Anyway, Moon in the third house is a little bit different. Not a little bit different. Moon in the third house is a lot different from like moon in the first house. So how I talked about the first house moon being very impulsive because it's Aries energy, this here is the energy of Gemini in the third house. So the moon in the third house, they really like to communicate how they feel versus acting out how they feel. Because in the first house and in Aries, it's like they acted out. They outwardly express that. Moon in the third house, they're more likely to intellectualize how they feel. Moon in the second house, you have an emotional attachment to having money and having material wealth and having the luxuries of life because Venus rules this house. So you have an emotional connection to the worldly possessions that you have. And without them, this is also the house of your worth, your self-worth. So without having a lot of money or without having, savings or without having that stability, you could feel like you lack in your self-worth. You could be very self-conscious if you don't have money, if you have to go without having things that you like and things that you want to get. You're the type of person who you're able to manage your finances because you know how important money is to you. You know how important financial stability is to you. You know how important it is to have something put away for a rainy day. You're not the type of person who wants to live paycheck to paycheck and spend everything that you have. In the past, you probably did experience poverty before and experience seeing people not have their necessities and not have the resources that they need. So you have an emotional connection to making sure that those financial needs are met, those material needs are met. And you might also collect things. You might have a habit of not letting go of things. You just have so many shoes that you don't even wear, but they're just piling up in your closet. You collect cards, or you collect video games, or you collect pictures, or you collect, some people who are hoarders can be seen with moon in the second house. Or moon in the second house ruler is Venus, so you could have trouble letting go of love that no longer serves you. Someone who is not reciprocating what you're giving to them. Someone who does not value you in the way that you value them. But because you want that stability and you're so comfortable with being in that relationship, you don't know how to let go of it, especially if Venus itself is in the second house. So moon in the third house, hey, this is my placement. So moon in the third house, I know all about it. This is my placement. So moon in the third house, first of all, third house is ruled by Mercury and Gemini. So Gemini, we know it's like a playful energy. Mercury is, really fast moving and very intellectual sign. It's literally the sign of your intelligence. So with moon being here in the third house of intelligence, you could be the type of person who you have a really, really good emotional intelligence to where you're able to change it up, because the Gemini energy represents, the twins. So everybody say like, oh, it's bipolar or whatever the case may be. But you could be this way in your emotions where 1 minute you're sad, the next minute you're happy, and if you're happy, you could become sad, and if you're sad, you could switch it up and become happy. And it's, a mutable energy. Gemini, third house is mutable. So you can change it up when you need to. If, for example, you lost someone and you have children at home and you're mourning the loss of someone, like maybe they didn't die, but maybe you had a breakup or something like that, and you have kids and you don't want your kids to see you in that vulnerable state, you have the ability to go cry alone in your closet or in your room or in your bed, and then present yourself to your children like nothing is wrong, you're good. And people can't really figure you out because they're always seeing two different, sides of what's really going on and then what you want them to see. Like, you choose which emotional side you want to present with moon in the third house. You also intellectualize your emotions. So you might find yourself like thinking of a situation where you should be sad. It should hurt your feelings. Like, for example, if you were with somebody at a long period of time, maybe you were together 2, 3, 4 years, whatever, and then y'all break up. And you intellectualize that as, I should feel sad. I know I'm supposed to. This should be something that hurts me. But depending on, like I said, your zodiac sign with moon in the third house, you're going to intellectualize it and think of, do I want to feel hurt about this though? Do I want this to be something that causes me to feel sad or feel depressed, or is it worth it type of thing? Like, it's always two different, like, weighing of options type of thing, where you're like, I could feel sad about this, but I could just go read on something that's going to make me feel better, or I could, go work on my studies or get some job done that I've been procrastinating on. Like, definitely with moon in the third house, I feel like when we, and I'll say we because I had this placement, when we feel hurt about something, most of the time we just intellectualize it, especially if you have air signs in this third house, air moon, like, or an earth moon here. Water moons, it might be a little different, but if you're an air moon or an earth moon here, you're going to be the type of person where if you're going through a breakup or something, you might tell yourself, like, it's not even worth crying over. Like, let me just go and put all my energy and my emotions into some type of creativity, some type of business idea or, adventure, and let me just do something that's going to help better myself. Like, you intellectualize so much with this third house placement. And if you're a water sign here, you might just take those emotions after you intellectualize it, because it's still the third house. You want to cry about it, you're going to cry a little bit. Then you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to write a poem, or I'm going to write a song saying bitches ain't shit, or I'm going to, you're going to find a way to, like, work through your emotions through a form of communication with moon in the third house. And I have another disclaimer for this placement. Because this is my personal placement, I know so much about moon in the third house versus all the other houses. So don't get offended if you see that moon in the third house. My explanations for it are, like, so much more in depth, and I have so much more to say about it than I do the other signs, because I'm speaking from personal experience. So I don't mean anything by it. It just is what it is, okay? Also, with your moon in the third house, you could have experienced, because third house represents your siblings, it represents your environment, it represents school, it represents children, it represents your neighborhood and your neighbors and stuff like that. So with moon in the third house, you could have experienced having to move around a lot in your childhood, where it just wasn't stable. Like, you may have made friends at one school, and right when you get cool with people and find your clique, it's time to move on to the next school, and you're not able to really establish a good connection with a group of people for a long time because you were moving around a lot. And you also might have that type of relationship with your siblings. If you have moon in the third house, you could have experienced not being in the same environment as your siblings a lot, or you could have not been on the same page as your siblings a lot, or just emotional situations surrounding or involving your siblings, or in your surrounding neighborhood, or involving your neighbors. Like, you could have had altercations with your neighbors. You could have had altercations with your siblings with this placement. In the third house, you have the ability to talk through your emotions. And I'm sorry, but I keep bringing up y'all Aries, because Aries is not going to want to talk through their emotions. They're going to want to get physical, okay? If you have Aries in the third house, It's gonna tone it down a little bit, but it's still Aries moon, so you're gonna probably cuss somebody out. Maybe you won't get physical, maybe, but you're definitely gonna want to bring that fire. So you're gonna cuss somebody out verbally if you have Aries in the third house. But anyway, what I was going to say is regular non-Aries placements, third house moons, and there's some other placements with that same kind of like Scorpio, but anyway, without the Mars energy being there in the third house, you're likely to be the type of person who is able to communicate your feelings and talk through situations instead of resulting to arguments and instead of resulting to fighting. You're likely to be able to, just get to the bottom of why whatever you feel like. So if your moon is in the third house, you're likely going to be the type of person who can talk through your emotions. You can talk through your feelings and what's going on with you versus somebody who might be just reacting so quickly and wanting to fight or cuss somebody out. Like, you would be the type of person in an argument, and again, and this is depending on what zodiac sign you have. If you have Aries, this does not apply to you because you're going to be on site. But you might be the type of person that when you're in a heated argument, you want to actually talk and learn why y'all feel like however you feel, or why that person made you feel how you feel, and how they perceived whatever you said to them, how they perceived it and why they perceived it in that way. Like, you're really going to want to communicate your emotions when you have moon in the third house. You also are going to have an emotional connection to your neighborhood and your siblings. So you might have a really close relationship with your siblings with moon in the third house, or you could have, if it's like moon in the third house and moon is in conjunction with Pluto, like, y'all could have some, deep jealousy going on with siblings, or deep transformation going on with siblings, or you could have lost a sibling as well with this placement. But in general, moon in the third house, you're likely going to be someone who you get bored easily. You get bored very easily. So you have to change the subject. Like, the subject has to change frequently for you. Whatever your emotions are on has to change frequently for you. You can't just be in the same emotional situation for too long, because it's just not moving. It's just not, this Mercury is fast moving energy. It's quick. It likes to explore. It likes to learn. It likes to be on the go. So if you are around boring people or boring situations, you're going to get sick and tired of it, and you're going to have to remove yourself from that situation. Especially if it's Venus is in this third house with your moon. In your relationships, you're going to want some variety. You're going to want some type of challenge. You're going to definitely want mental stimulation. You're definitely going to be a sapiosexual person where you're attracted to the intelligence of someone else. And you're going to be a very intelligent person yourself, at least emotionally intelligent. You might have had difficulty with like paying attention at school if it wasn't something that you found intriguing, or something that you found interest in, or something that you had an emotional connection to. You could have got bored easily and, skip class, or just misbehave because you didn't like being bored, and you have all this restless energy going on with Mercury here being the ruler of the third house. If your moon is in the fourth house, you're likely to be the type of person who you have an emotional connection to your environment. So you're that girlfriend or guy that your friends call you and they're like, hey, you want to hang out? You want to go to blah, blah, blah? You're that friend that says that, yeah, I'm going to go. And, you know, probably up until the day that y'all had made plans, you'd still tell them that you're coming. And at the last minute, you're like, I think I'm going to just stay home. So then you come up with an excuse to why you can't go and you stay home. Or you're the type of person who, like, you say you're going to go out somewhere and you really want something to happen to prevent you from going. You're like, yeah, I'll go to the club. Yeah, I'll meet y'all at the bar, blah, blah, blah. And then when you hang up the phone, you're like, man, I hope it rain, or I hope something happened to where I don't have to go. I hope they cancel so I don't have to cancel, because I always cancel. Like, you're definitely that friend that you don't like going outside of your house. You like being in places where you feel most comfortable. You're not that adventurous when it comes to trying out new things with Moon in the 4th house. You like being in places that you feel an emotional attachment to, places that you feel comfortable. And where else would you feel more comfortable than at home? You want to stay your ass at home. You probably have the most comfortable bed. You probably spent a lot of money on your sheets and your pillows to make sure, you know, it's the most comfortable bed to sleep in. You probably have one of the mattress pads to make it extra soft. You probably have a big ass TV in your room or in your living room, or video games, or a bunch of apps that you're subscribed to, so your ass can Netflix and chill the fuck at home because you don't really like leaving your comfort zone. You probably take like your own pillows and blankets when you go on vacation to places. Like, you might be that type of person that you don't want to use the hotel's sheets and pillows when you go to the hotel. You're like, I don't know who slept on these. I don't feel comfortable sleeping on a pillow that 1,000 other people have laid their head on. So I'm gonna bring my own pillow and I'm gonna bring my own blanket so that I can feel comfortable. So it's always about comfort for you. So anything you do, you're going to want to feel comfortable with doing it. You might even work from home because you feel more comfortable at home. You have an emotional connection to being in your place of comfort, and it might just be a familiar environment. If it's not your home, you might be the type of person where if you do work outside of your home, maybe you've been at that same job for a long period of time because you were comfortable there. Same as like relationships, you know, especially if Venus is here in the 4th house, you like being comfortable in your relationship, so you might not want to let go and try dating different people because you feel comfortable where you are in that relationship. Your emotional needs are met, even if it's not a place of, you know, you getting your emotional needs met because this person genuinely cares about you and they're doing what they need to do to reciprocate the love that you give to them. It could just be from my emotional needs are met standpoint because I'm comfortable with you. And they might not offer you anything else, but you being comfortable with them, might be enough just for you to not want to go anywhere or try anything different. So that could be, you know, some stagnant situations for you. You might be the type of person who likes to change your bedroom around a lot, like move the furniture around in your house to make it look different, to make you feel more comfortable. You're the type of person that if you change around your living room or your bedroom, you feel like you're in a completely different place, but your things are still there. So you have a sense of comfort because your personal belongings haven't changed, but you changed the way it looked. Also, with Moon in the 4th house, you might be, and you're more likely to be the type of person who have an emotional connection more with your mother's side of the family than your father's side of the family, because the 4th house ruled by the Moon, so the Moon is at home here, it represents that nurturing side and that mother lineage as well. Moon in the fourth house, you're definitely going to be very protective of your family, and you might also have a desire to start your own family. If you don't have kids, you might have always thought about the day that you were going to have kids and how you wanted to start certain traditions with your own family, or what type of lifestyle you wanted your family to have, or what kind of house you wanted to buy for your family when you get your family. So with this placement, your sense of security and domestic life at home is like the most important to you. You are very curious and you are very secure. No, you are very protective over your home life. You're very protective over your domestic life and your family, because it's the most important thing to you, especially if this moon is your chart ruler. Like, it's extremely important to you. Your family is extremely important to you. Where you live is extremely important to you. Your environment is extremely important to you, to the point where it affects everything that you do is affected by what's going on in your domestic life at home. So if there's trouble, or if there's chaos, or if there's restlessness at home, it's going to play out in every other area of your life. You're the type of person who, if you do work outside of your home, you take your home and domestic life to work with you. If you get into it with, your spouse, you're going to be that type of person that, oh God, if you're somebody's boss and stuff is going on in your home and you're a moon in the fourth house and you go to work, oh, those employees have hell on their hands, because all of that anger and frustration that you have at home, you're going to bring it to your workplace. You're going to bring the drama. You're going to be that type of person where, everybody all of a sudden, we're not getting raises. And then, they talk amongst each other like, why the boss ain't giving us raises today? And then somebody who knows you and have seen these patterns, they're like, oh yeah, him and his wife got into it, so he decided to not give us raises. And then you're like, oh well, I hope this bitch be okay by Christmas, because maybe we'll get a bonus at Christmas time, because anything that goes on in his household, we gotta suffer for it. Like, situations like that. Or even if you're not the boss, if you're just like an employee and you go to work, you might be that girl that you might be in an abusive relationship, and then you go to work and everybody at your job knows that you're with the boyfriend that put his hands on you, or that raises his voice at you, and you're sitting there crying in the break room, or you're crying in your car or on your lunch break about what's going on at home, because your home life affects everything that you do. Like, maybe you go to school and you can't get any of your work done because your boyfriend broke your heart. Like, you can't compartmentalize things with this placement. You have to deal with them, and they affect you and they affect every area of your life, because you're emotionally attached to what goes on in your home. Also, with moon in the fourth house, you might tend to be more of an introvert than an extrovert. But if you have like a sun in Leo or something, that's not going to be the case. But for most people with moon in the fourth house, you're going to be a more introverted person. You're going to be the type of person that if people come to you and talk to you, you're very friendly, but you're not the type of person to initiate conversations with other people or initiate friendships and bonds with other people. You just kind of stay with what you're familiar with, and you're really protective of that. Moon in the fifth house. So the fifth house represents your fun side, it represents your creative nature, and it represents your romantic side. So when moon comes into the fifth house, you're likely to be a very creative, romantic person when you're dating or in relationships. You might be the type of person who you rent the hotel and light candles everywhere and put flowers on the bed and have a bunch of balloons and stuff for birthdays or Valentine's Day or special occasions, or do grand gestures if you are in the doghouse and you messed up and you're trying to win somebody over. Like, you would be over the top with an apology with Moon in the 5th house. You're the type of person where you have an emotional connection to being creative and having fun. So you don't really like serious situations that much. You like to be able to have, freedom in being yourself and expressing your creative nature and being very playful. And you probably have a really good relationship with your children. If you have children, you might be the type of person who, when your children were babies, at least your first child, you might have researched how to become the best parent to be able to take care of that child, because you're very passionate about children, and you're very passionate about your creativities, and you're very passionate about your romances. You're very passionate about sex and your dating life. So you're that type of person who you might go all out to impress other people. You also might be the type of person who you like to find a creative outlet when you're upset about something. When you might feel sad about something, but instead of crying about it, you rather create some form of art. You rather just dance the night away. You rather have sex. You rather, go on a bunch of dates if, somebody break up with you or something like that. You have an emotional connection to fun and doing what you want to do. So with this placement, you might be some type of artist. You might have some type of artistic skill that you're really good at. You might be a painter or good at writing or poetry or dancing or a comedian or an actor. A lot of actors and actresses have 5th house placements as well. You're also more likely to be an extroverted type of person, unless maybe if Scorpio's here, maybe you are a little bit more introverted and secretive when it comes to your playful side. But we'll get into the zodiac signs later. But with the 5th house, you like to feel good and you like to have fun, and you don't like dealing with heavy emotions, and you don't like to dwell on things for a long time, because the ruler of the 5th house is the sun. The sun likes to shine. The sun likes to be, just the center of attention and just do what it does. And with the moon in the sun house, you still have an emotional connection to being able to just have fun. If your moon is in the 6th house, you have a need for organization. You have a need for structure, a need for routine, a need for daily rituals, daily habits. Go to the fucking gym. Eat breakfast at a certain time every day. Say your affirmations. Get shit done. Moon in the 6th house is similar to Virgo moon. So you definitely have a need for organization. Moon in the 6th house, you have an emotional attachment to being of service. You might feel like you don't do enough if you don't provide service for other people, if you aren't helpful in some type of way. You might always be trying to help other people to the point where you don't even help your damn self, but you're trying to help other people with moon in the 6th house, because the 6th house represents Virgo. Virgo represents the servant. Mercury is the messenger. So you might always be trying to give other people advice and always trying to tell them practical ways to improve their lives based on what you feel they should know, because this is your moon here. So you feel like you need to communicate with other people basic practical knowledge to help improve their lives. And a lot of times nobody want to hear that shit, because you do too much. You too detailed. You pay too much attention to everything. I know, because I'm a Virgo moon. So you pay too much attention to everything, to the point where if you go out and you try to tell somebody something, they might get to the point where you getting cussed out, because they don't notice what you notice, and they don't care about what you noticed either. If they ask you, that's a whole nother story. But if you just volunteer yourself because you feel the need to give of somebody else some service, that you feel like, you know, you're the messenger and you're the servant, so you want to serve these messages, you want to tell them everything that you see that you think is wrong, and they don't give a fuck, and they don't want to hear, and they'll let you know that they don't want to hear it. Moon in the 6th house, although you are a very good therapist to people, you also run into a lot of people who probably tell you to mind your own damn business, because they don't want to hear that shit, because your ass go too damn deep into little minor details. Like, I didn't give a fuck about what I did until you mentioned what I did in the way that you did, because I didn't even think about it like that. I might have been thinking about the shit from a broad view, and your ass want to chime in on the little minor fucking details about the shit, and now I'm pissed off. So that's what you can experience with Moon in the 6th house or in Virgo, because people are like on edge already, and then you come telling them what you think they should know, and they don't want to fucking hear that shit. They don't take well to your critique. They don't take well to your detailed analytical mind. So you trying to relate shit to them don't always go well. Routine, structure, daily habits, scheduling is really important to you. It's important for you to take these one by one steps in order to reach your bigger goal. You have a very practical, analytical mind. You're able to realize that without doing these little small things, you can't get to the bigger picture thing. So conflicts that could occur with this placement is that, because 6th house represents, your daily routines, your habits. It represents, your work or things that you do every day, or your rituals. It also represents your health. It's also the house of health. And it also represents, it's ruled by Virgo, so it represents the servant as well. So with this placement, you could find yourself trying to be of service to other people, to the point where you're giving so much of yourself to other people that you don't give enough to yourself. Also, daily routines could be you going to work every day, so you could be an overworker with Moon in the 6th house. You could be too focused on working out, because that's a daily routine as well. You could be too overly focused on keeping, a certain diet, or following a certain regimen when it comes to what and when to eat and how much to exercise, or what days to do this or what days to do that, or how much you consume and stuff like that. A lot of times with Moon in the 6th house, you could just offer up so much of yourself to where it's not appreciated. You could feel unappreciated at work. You could feel unappreciated when it comes to giving of yourself to other people, because you're just always trying to be of service. You also need to pay attention to your health with Moon in the 6th house, because being depressed or being in certain emotional states could cause you to have a physical illness as well, because the 6th house represents the house of health. So nevertheless, enforcing positive habits are always going to be important with this placement. To let go of daily rituals or habits that don't serve you, or negative habits that addictions that don't serve you, is going to be really important to let go of those things with the Moon in the 6th house.